You are listening to the It's Your Time podcast, and I'm your host, Certified Life Coach Michelle Arnold Burke. In today's episode, we're discussing conscious leadership and executive function, how self-trust, discipline, and flow create lasting habits. Welcome to the It's Your Time podcast, the podcast where busy professionals like you get the practical solutions and support you need to gain control of your schedule so you can strive to be the best in your career, but without the stress and overwhelm. If you're looking to increase your energy and decrease your stress, you are in the right place. Hello. Welcome back to the podcast, Fred. It's been a minute since we've been here live. I hope you ended 2025 strong. And here we are at January 1st. And I'm excited because I want to use a theme this month. And what I want us to talk about is really looking at our identity, our worth, and new beginnings. So that will be the theme: identity, worth, and new beginnings. And really the idea that you don't need a new you. You need a new relationship with success and ambition. Now, I do think there's something super powerful about today, not because the calendar changed, but because we get to choose what this next season means. Not in a new year, new you kind of way, which I know is kind of the buzz. That's the thing, right? But what I want us to think about is have it be more in a conscious way. So this month, we are talking about how January isn't about becoming someone else. It's about consciously choosing who you are becoming and redefining your relationship with ambition and success along the way. So this episode is for the woman who is capable, thoughtful, driven, you, and still feels pulled in 100 different directions. I get it. I am with you right here. We do this walk together, right? So you don't need any extra discipline, right? You do not lack discipline and you don't lack intelligence. And guess what? We are not broken. What's really happening is this. You're trying to lead your life unconsciously in a world that constantly pulls at your attention, your energy, and your nervous system. And unconscious leadership, even with the best of intentions, creates exhaustion, inconsistency, and often self-doubt. So today we're talking about conscious leadership, executive function, discipline, what it actually is, flow state, how fun is that, and why neuroscience explains why habits and goals don't stick. And all of this will be through the lens of self-trust, because that's where everything begins. So this conversation is for you if you care deeply and tend to put everyone else first, if you feel confident and grounded in some areas of life and maybe a little less steady in others. You start the day with good intentions, and then the day takes over. We feel like we're running around like a chicken with our heads cut off, right? And you know what supports you, but real life pulls you off course. Not because you don't want to change, but because your attention is constantly being redirected outward. And over time, that erodes trust in yourself. Now, let's start with talking about what unconscious living actually looks like, because it's subtle. It's having maybe the extra glass of wine when you meant to cut back. It's forgetting to drink the water all day again. It's saying yes automatically, then wondering why you are exhausted. It's picking up your phone without even thinking. Ending the day with, why didn't I do the things that mattered to me? And then the thought creeps in, why do I know better and still do this? I remember, especially when I first started doing the coaching, I would have so many different layers of judgment on myself. So it's that idea that we know we are smart, right? There are changes we want to make, and yet sometimes they just don't stick. Here's the neuroscience truth. Most behavior is driven by the nervous system, not logic. So when you're living unconsciously, the brain defaults to habit, the body seeks comfort, attention goes to what's loudest, not what's most meaningful. There's no pause, no leadership, just reaction. Conscious leadership begins the moment you notice what's happening without judgment and interrupt that pattern. It's so funny. I was doing my journaling this morning and I put my glasses on. I was like, wow, I feel like I'm more awake when I do the journaling and I can actually see what's going on in this brain, putting it on the paper. And I thought, what an interesting analogy. When we can see what's going on, we really do become more awake to our life, right? And Executive function, which we want to talk about next, is that part of our brain that is responsible for planning, decision making, emotional regulation, focus, and delayed gratification. So it's basically the CEO brain. But here's what matters. Executive function only works well when the nervous system feels relatively safe. So when stress is high, the brain prioritizes short-term relief. And remember, I've talked about this a number of times. The motivational triad is to avoid pain, seek pleasure, and be as efficient as possible. So it totally makes sense that we want to prioritize the short-term relief. Dopamine comes from distraction, avoidance, numbing, and long-term goals feel abstract and so far away. So when women say, I just don't stick to the habits, what's really happening is my brain is choosing immediate relief over future benefit. Not because you don't care, but because your system is overloaded. So it's not that you are doing anything wrong. I have this sentence that runs in my brain all of the time. I need to be super aware of that I am doing it wrong. It's as if we apologize for our life. And I want us to stop that in 2026 and recognize the importance of doing not only the mindset work, which I think is super important, but also the nervous system regulation. And I want to talk about when we look at discipline, right? Because oftentimes we think like, if I just become more disciplined, let's take a look at what discipline really is and let's redefine it. Discipline is not forcing yourself. It's not rigidity. It's not being hard on yourself. Discipline is the ability to follow through on what matters in a way that your nervous system can sustain. So discipline matters here because it bridges intention and behavior. And when your body feels unsafe, you choose ease over effort, familiar over intentional, now over later. Do you see a theme? Again, that is the motivational triad of the brain. This is why people don't stick to habits or make the changes that they most desire, even when the desire is real. Discipline grows when your nervous system learns, I don't need to escape this moment. I can stay with it. And that's leadership in everyday life. It's pausing before that second class. It's refilling the water. It's saying not today instead of yes. It's closing the app. It's choosing what supports you even when it's not automatic yet. I love that extra word, yet. Give yourself some grace and just recognize as you do all of this work, you can incorporate yet, knowing that it will happen. And the next thing I want us to kind of look at is the idea of performance-based worth. And I think this is such an important layer when we're looking at discipline, we're looking at conscious leadership, because high-achieving women don't just like performing well. Many of us have learned, quietly perhaps, to tie our worth to it. Not consciously maybe, and not because of ego, but because being capable kept us safe. Being reliable earned approval, and being productive made us valuable. Neurologically, this again makes sense. When effort leads to praise, which it often has, right, especially growing up as a kid in the educational system with parents, right, effort leads to praise or sometimes results, and dopamine gets released. So the nervous system learns I'm more valuable when I'm producing. I will also say, because I love sharing stories with you all here, that when I think of, especially again, back early doing this work, specifically around nervous system, when I think about feelings and how do I want to feel today, productive was often a feeling that I would choose. And it makes sense, right? Because what we've learned through the years is that if I'm productive, I am quote unquote good. I am quote unquote worthy. And you really want to start to question that. Because when you're thinking that you're more valuable when you're producing, it means that when you slow down or when you rest or when you don't check every box, that discomfort, well, it is not laziness. It's just a friction with the identity that you have been holding. And this is why unconscious living becomes such a problem, because when worth is tied to performance, to goals, it turns into pressure and not support. And that's why flow state matters on the day-to-day basis. So let's talk a little bit about what that means. Flow isn't just for athletes or artists. It's a state of optimal functioning. And that can be in our everyday life. And when we look at what research shows around flow, flow happens when attention is fully engaged. Skill meets challenge. Distraction drops away and action feels focused and satisfying. So flow helps day to day because it reduces that mental friction, it conserves energy, and it builds momentum. This is why do less with more intention matters. When you try to do everything, your focus fractures, your energy is leaking, and nothing feels complete. It's that time at the end of the day when you're running around thinking like, I was so busy today, but what did I actually get done? When you do less intentionally, the brain stays engaged, progress feels tangible, and motivation stabilizes. Flow is conscious leadership in motion. And listen, January isn't about doing more. In my opinion, I really want us to think about deciding who you are being. James Clear teaches this in Atomic Habits. Again, I've mentioned it here before. Atomic Habits, great book, especially this time of year. I would say check it out. You don't need to rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your identity. Benjamin Hardy is also another great author, and he has the book Future Self. He has a few books, but I really did enjoy Future Self. And your future self must become more real than your past patterns. Oftentimes, we look to evidence of our past to be able to accomplish something new, and we need to stop doing that because, of course, if we haven't done it yet, there's not going to be evidence there. So instead of saying things like, I need to work out more or I need to be more disciplined, change it to something more along the lines of, I'm someone who honors her energy. I'm someone who leads herself consciously. I'm someone who trusts herself with choice. Now, habits aren't chores. They're an expression of identity. Can you see the difference there? Because every small decision becomes a vote for your future self. And that's how self-trust grows. Not from perfection, from alignment. Again and again and again. So, as this year begins, let this be your reset. You are not here to prove your worth. You are here to lead your life consciously. So you don't need more willpower, you don't need more pressure, and you don't need more aggressive planning. You need a clearer identity. Who do you want to be? And the most powerful leadership decision you'll make this year is not what you do, it's who you decide to be. And then everything else follows. That's when everything becomes so much fun. Okay, if this is the stuff that you want to work on this year, let's have you get started with the Reset to Rise program. And it's such an easy way to get started. It's where you can start doing this work so when you get to the end of the day, you're not feeling like you were running around like a chicken with your head cut off and still have no idea what exactly you accomplished, right? It's being able to go to bed at the end of the day knowing that you did enough. So head to michelleburkecoaching.com/reset to get started. Okay, that's what I have for you today. We'll be back here next week. But until then, lead yourself with intention because it's your time. Make it a great day. Take care. Did you know you can take this work to a deeper level with me one-on-one? Go to michelleburkecoaching.com and click on Get Started to begin.